Kwaba, welcome to this week's edition of Ghana in Focus with myself, Kwame, Ghanaian writer, broadcaster, journalist, entrepreneur, and podcaster. And this week's edition of Ghana in Focus, it's development in Ghana, whose agenda? So we're basing this because of two instances that's happened in Ghana over the last 2 weeks about the developmental agenda that this government of Ghana, current government of Ghana under John Dramani Mahama is pursuing. All right, so before we get into the show, just to make you aware that if you like what you hear, please subscribe to Ghana Africa in Focus on Spotify. Click the follow bell, and meaning that Spotify will notify you rather every time we upload a new podcast. You can also sign in via YouTube. So you can search for Ghana African Focus on YouTube, click the notification bell, subscribe, meaning that every time we upload a new podcast, Spotify will notify you of that. All right, so please share this great podcast to your friends, your family, and social media networks. All right, so in the last couple of weeks, there have been a couple of interesting developments in Ghana that I'm not really happy about, and that we need to discuss here on Ghana in Focus. So just recently, the first issue was that there was a recent Pakistan Rice Roadshow in Accra, Ghana, where Ghana's Ministry of Agriculture called for deeper collaboration with Pakistan in rice production. Yeah, the focus was on technology transfer, agro-industrial investment, and knowledge sharing around premium rice varieties like basmati. Now, the reason for this so-called Pakistan Roadshow is that apparently Pakistan is a global rice powerhouse, producing over 9 million metric tons annually. And the event also included business-to-business meetings between Ghanaian importers and Pakistan exporters. Now, the reason why I'm against this is for many problems or many issues. So the first being that one, Pakistan people do not like Africans, yeah? And this is why it's always saying that history is important, because when you know your history, right, you know who your friends are, you know who your enemies are. So Pakistan, they don't like black people, they're not African people. And to prove that, there is an African population in Pakistan called the Siddi, S-I-D-D-I, Siddi, yeah? They've been in Pakistan for about 500 years, but they're treated worse than animals in Pakistan because of the caste system in Pakistan, yeah? So if that's how they treat their own black people in Pakistan, why then would you think that they want to trade with us on an equitable basis, yeah? Because for me, as far as I'm concerned, this so-called Pakistan Rice Roadshow is a showcase for their rice, yeah? And, basmati rice does not sit well with me, but I'll come to that in a minute, yeah? So they've got an interest in promoting their brands of rice because they need the markets. We need African markets because Asia is saturated with rice. You got China grew its own rice, so they need no one's rice. Vietnam grew its own rice. Singapore grew its own rice. Yeah, these Asian economies grew their own rice. And primarily, they eat their own rice, yeah? So Pakistan needs new markets, yeah, for its massive population of about 200 million, yeah? And they need that investment. And so if they come to countries like Ghana and Africa, right, to, try to sell their products to us, whereby we don't need Pakistan rice, yeah? Like I said, one, they don't like us, and two, ask yourself, why is Pakistan a global rice powerhouse, producing over 9 million metric tons? You know why? Because the Pakistan government, like Nkrumah back in the day, understands the importance of being food secure, yeah, and more cogently subsidize farmers. So in Pakistan, just like all over Asia, they subsidize their farmers. So they get their biggest produce, which in Pakistan's case is rice, and they subsidize their rice farmers to the tilt by offering them either interest-free loans or soft loans, yeah, and then they subsidize their farmers by giving them, the raw materials that they need to cultivate rice, i.e., possibly land, i.e., the harvest combine machines that they use to cultivate rice, and also the seeds and other technologies that they need to grow rice. So why can't we do some in Ghana? So I know that the current government has got a program where it wants to make Ghana food secure, but in between that, it is, in this case, rice, relying on Pakistan. Because obviously within Ghana, rice is a very, very big commodity. So, rice is eaten very rich every day in Ghana, at weddings, outdoorings, funerals, parties, what have you. And in Ghana, we eat a lot of rice. So rice comes in the form of emutio, which is basically rice balls that can be eaten with peanut soup. Yeah, we have obviously the world famous jollof rice. Yeah. We also have plain white rice. Yeah. That is cooked a lot in Ghana. And also we have wache. Yeah, wache, the popular wache, which is basically, similar to Jamaican rice and peas. Yeah. And then obviously, as a pudding, we also have rice water as well. So rice water can be cooked and eaten with milk and sugar. Yeah. So it tells that rice is a very, very popular a commodity in Ghana, which is why the government has called upon Pakistan to help within, agro-industry investment, knowledge, etc. But like I said, as African people, right, we need to think outside the box, and our governments need to understand that need to think outside the box rather than going to, the Asian man or the white man, etc. Yeah, because let me give an example of why this is the wrong idea. If you talk about the year of return, rate of return, yeah, wanting the diaspora to come back to Ghana, yeah, to invest in Ghana, etc. And also, if you're thinking about, this is what the government is saying about a 24-hour economy, yeah, if you're thinking about inter-Africa trade, which this president talked about, I think the last AU summit, he was talking about the need for Africa to be doing business with one another. So this kind of smash the head when you have opportunity to call upon the diaspora or call upon expertise within the African continent, they get to Pakistan. Yeah. But like I said, if you know history, right, history informs you of what you can do and what you're capable of doing. So most of you are not aware that African Americans, yeah, particularly the descendants of the Gullah people, right, and the Gullah people live in present-day Liberia and Sierra Leone, yeah, they're mostly based in the southeastern states of the United States. They have got deep ancestral knowledge of rice cultivation. And this expertise goes all the way back to West Africa rice growing traditions that were brought over during enslavement. Yeah. And in fact, these people were deliberately selected, the Gullah people of modern day Liberia and Sierra Leone were deliberately chosen by the slave owners, right, for their rice growing skills in areas like present day Sierra Leone, Liberia, and coastal Ghana. And so rather than inviting Pakistan, yeah, you should invite African American agriculturalists, entrepreneurs, and researchers to co-invest in Ghana's rice sector. Yeah. So the so-called arrangements or sweeteners or incentives that you are given to Pakistan rice producers, yeah, or Pakistan entrepreneurs or Pakistan, rice cultivators, that same incentive should be given to our African American brothers and sisters, because, like I say, they're family. This is what the year return is supposed to be about. Not just about tourism, but about doing business with ourselves, doing business with our kith and king in the diaspora, who have got that knowledge, who have got the expertise, and also they've got the money to invest. So what the government should have done, yeah, by inviting our kith and king from America and Canada, right? What this is how, you know, what the government should do or could do, right? By inviting people, right, is keep the profits here and intellectual capital circulating within the African diaspora. Because these Pakistan people, right, when they come to Ghana and invest their money in rice cultivation and technologies and what have you, then that profit that they make in Ghana is going to go back to Pakistan, yeah, to invest in Pakistan. Wherever, however, if we invite African Americans, a lot of them want to come back home anyway because they're sick and tired of America. They want to come back home. So if the government of Ghana was smart, yeah, and gave incentives to our African American cousins who are specialized in agriculture, who are specialized in farming, rice cultivation, yeah, giving them incentive that the profit will stay in Ghana and the intellectual capital will pass to other pass to local Ghanaian farmers who may not be that specialized yet in rice cultivation. But Ghana, we've got the people. Because don't forget, in Nkrumah's time, Nkrumah, you know, had a massive rice factory in the Volta Basin. Ayavime rice factory in the Volta Basin, because the Volta Basin is the third largest man-made river on the planet. And Nkrumah understood that. That's why he purposely, deliberately built rice factories or rice plantations in the Volta area. Yeah. So if our government had like common sense, yeah, and understood dynamics, right, you wouldn't call in Pakistan. People that don't like you, people that call you, you know, Kalia in their country, which is the N word in Urdu, Kalia, yeah. Why would you invite people into a country that don't like you? Yeah, because they pretend that they want to do business, right, but they're looking after their own interests. Yeah, and like I said, the profits will go back to Pakistan, and you're giving jobs to Pakistan people, Pakistan farmers, other than your own people. Why are we doing this? Right. Also, by inviting African Americans, right, we are and that knowledge and expertise that they've got, they could, you know, transpose those skills to our own people who have forgotten how to cultivate rice. So that would be to reclaim and honor ancestral knowledge systems that can be used for greater good. Again, by inviting our African American brothers and sisters, right, in rice cultivation, that builds transatlantic partnerships rooted in a shared history and empowerment. Yeah. So we would empower ourselves as Ghanaian farmers, as well as empowering African Americans who want to come back home and build businesses. Yeah. This is a prime opportunity that the government of Ghana has missed by not inviting African American rice farmers, rice producers, etc. Again, by inviting African Americans with that knowledge that they've got, because all the rice that's growing in America, particularly in Texas, that's going by African Americans. African Americans were the original rice farmers in America. They gave the white man the technology and the ability to grow rice in America. A lot of the American rice is grown in the deep south. Who do you think grows? Who do you think is responsible for growing it and passing on the technology to the white farmers? African Americans. Yeah. So they've got the technology, right? And if we invited them into Ghana, we could develop local agro processing infrastructure with their investment, with their money. Yeah. So the government of Ghana, if they had any sense, I keep on saying the sense, it's not insulting, but use your brain, use your dark matter. Yeah. Because African American got a lot of money. Right? This money that Pakistan invested is nothing. Nothing, beloved. There are many, you know, African Americans, what the net worth is? Their net worth is $3 trillion. There's 50 million African Americans that live in America, right? Their GDP is equivalent to the fifth richest country on the planet. So if African in America, if they were a country, if they were a nation, right, that would make them the fifth richest people on the planet because of their GDP. The GDP of African Americans is about $3 trillion. So they've got the capital that they could come to Ghana as rice farmers and create all the infrastructure that we need to develop sustainable rice growing factories and production. And Mahama, he talked about, your 24-hour economy. This is a prime example of engaging with the diaspora, to come to Ghana and build those factories that you want to project as part of the 24-hour economy. Rice processing, rice agriculture, rice producing, rice production, rice cultivation. That alone could create a lot of jobs in Ghana. The money stays in Ghana, and the opportunities also stay in Ghana. And the technology also stays in Ghana. So, for me, I don't think the government is thinking right when inviting Pakistan to showcase their rice. And we don't necessarily need basmati rice because that's one of the rice that Pakistan is famous for. We have the own strands of rice, and this is where the technology comes into place. This is where the knowledge, this is where the science of rice cultivation comes into place. Because in Ghana, we don't necessarily have to eat basmati rice, and that's white rice. You could eat red rice that is cultivated in the Volta region, right? Or we could develop our own strains based on the natural soil fertilization that we have in Ghana, based on the richness of our soil, based on the varieties of our soil. We could cultivate different strands of rice, which is for our own environment, one, and more importantly, right, for our own DNA. That Pakistan rice, right, is for them. It's for their DNA. And their DNA is different from our DNA as Ghanaians and Africans. Yeah, so we could cultivate, instead of their basmati white rice, we could cultivate our own red rice, our own Ghana, brown rice, our own Ghana, even black rice. Yeah, and if you Google black rice is very, very nutritious and healthy. In actual fact, black rice is the most nutritious form of rice because of the power of the black grain. Yeah. So we're missing a trick here by not inviting African Americans who have got this in their DNA because their ancestors were from Africa. Their ancestors were from modern day Ghana in the coastal areas of Ghana, like Cape Coast, Sekondi, Takrady, like modern day, present day, Liberia, Sierra Leone, the Gula people. Yeah. Now, let me tell you what, this partnership between African Americans and government of Ghana could look like in practice. So you could have, with the capital that African Americans have got, you could have diaspora-backed rice cooperatives in the Volta region, which is a basin of Ghana for cultivating rice, but also in the northern or Ashanti regions of Ghana. Yeah? And like I said also, how this will manifest itself, right, is that you can give incentives for African-American agro businesses to set up training hubs in Ghana to train local Ghanaians about rice cultivation, rice methodologies, the science of growing rice, and also rice production. Also, how this will look like in practice, right? This venture between Ghanaians and African Americans, right? You could have joint ventures in rice milling, in packaging and export, based in Ghana, owned by Africans. And like I said, the money and the profits that are generated by this kind of ventures stays in Ghana, as opposed to going to Pakistan and enriching their economy and their farmers. And lastly, right, how this partnership could also be dynamic in terms of cultural and educational exchanges could emanate from this, yeah, which then would be able to, develop partnerships, right, with local, with local people, and also reconnect those people, particularly youth, with their ancestral farming knowledge that they've lost. Because in Ghana today, we've lost our knowledge. the ancient knowledge that we had as Ghanaians, yeah, whether you're Akan, Ewe, Fanti, whatever, we've lost that ancient knowledge, right, because of colonialism and so-called modernization, right? This, by inviting African Americans skilled in this area, we could train our youth to reconnect with their ancient knowledge of rice cultivation. Because no white man come to Ghana and teach us how to grow rice. We were growing rice ourselves, even in Nkrumah's day. So all you got to do is just learn or relearn what you already knew in the first place about how to grow rice and the science behind growing rice. So this issue of me not liking Pakistan, people coming right to Pakistan and grow rice, it's not being bigoted, it's not being racist, right? And it's not just about economics, right? It's about sovereignty. Sovereignty. I keep on using this term, sovereignty. What was the point of gaining independence, right? If you know, you're just going to run to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Sovereignty. This what it's about. Dignity and building a future, right? Where African knowledge, right, and capital work. So we can work amongst ourselves as Africans from the diaspora and Africans in Africa who have got the expertise, yeah, and encourage the notion of self-determination and sovereignty, which are very two ingredients in terms of emancipation from white domination and Asian domination. Because if we're talking about being food secure, right, we should grow what we eat and eat what we grow. It's a simple formula. It's not rocket science, simple formula. So this is what the government of Ghana should be doing. For me, instead of calling Pakistan rice developers or rice growers, you know, but to call our people, African Americans, whose ancestors came from Ghana and whose ancestors actually built America. Ain't no white man built America. The black man, African man built America. Look at Washington, D.C. That was not built by a white man. All the plans, yeah, and the architecture drawings for Washington, D.C., that great capital of America, was done by a black man, African man, called Benjamin Banneker. And he was commissioned by George Washington in 1791 to lay the plans for that city that you see today called Washington, D.C. So George Washington knew that the black man was the original mathematician. George Washington, he knew that the black man was the original architect. He knew the black man was the original designer. That's why he called upon a black man, an African, to design and lay the plans for Washington, D.C. He didn't call a Chinaman. He didn't call an Indian man. He didn't call a Pakistani man. He didn't call a Muslim man. He didn't call a Chinaman. He didn't call a European, a German, Italian, French. No, he called a black man because he knew Washington's DNA told him that the black man is the original builder, is the original mason, is the original architect, is the original planner. Yeah. So our history should inform us. And even before I go there, the White House, where all the American presidents live, including Donald Trump, you know, was built by Africans. Even Michelle Obama said it when she was first lady. She said that I wake up every morning in a house that was built by enslaved Africans. Yeah. So that tells you why that without African labor, African know-how, African technology, African labor, you will not see America, the great country you see today. And this is why it's important that the government of Ghana engages with the African American diaspora, particularly African Americans, right? And let me tell you why. Today, even though black people in America have been treated really badly, you know, there are still rice producers in America. And I can name you 3 of those rice producers that the government of Ghana can call upon. So the first one is P.J. Haney, right? Who own Haney Farms in Virginia and Arkansas. So they're 5th generation black farmer and chairman of the National Black Growers Council. Yeah. And they operate the only black-owned rice mill in the US, located in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Yeah. You also got Jubilee Justice, right? That's the Black Rice Project in America. So this was founded by Condon Mason. This initiative supports Black farmers in the southeastern states to grow rice using, now check this now, using sustainable methods like system of rice intensification. Let me say that again. So these Black farmers in the southeastern states of the United States, right, they grow rice by using sustainable methods like system of rice intensification, SRI. You don't think we can use that technology in Ghana? Using our soil, which is very rich, fertile. So this Jubilee Justice in America, right, they've got farms like Roy Mosley in Georgia, who are cultivating heirloom rice varieties on land that once belonged to their ancestors. Yeah? So this is just examples of rice farmers in America who are producing using technology, yeah, under the system of rice intensification program, different varieties of rice. So these people, for example, the Black Rice Project, you don't think we can have them in Ghana? And we can, you know, and they've got money as well, and we can give them incentives to teach our people in Ghana how to grow sustainable methods of rice, like this one here that they've got. We can't do that. This is why it's important to know your Black history. Yeah. So for me, this is why it's important that we, you know, when we look about so-called foreign investment, right, that we understand that foreign investment is about sovereignty, and self-determination, yeah, and not giving your rights and dignity away to people that don't like you. So the government of Ghana, you know, they should have a diaspora office that they claim they have one, and they should partner with African Americans in, you know, in this rice cultivation and rice production, because in the long term, that has great benefits for Ghana. And it tells you that there's a gap in Ghana's, you know, diaspora engagement. So it's okay having the right to return and beyond the return, right? But, you know, part of the right of return should be to engage our people in sustainable business developments. No, it's not about tourism. It's not about tourism and getting them to invest in a buying house or buying a property. No, it's about real, tangible business developments, right? In this case, rice production. Yeah. And that for me should be the purpose, right? Or should be the purpose of the year of return and beyond the return. Yeah. To get our people from the diaspora who have the money, who have the know-how, who have the technical expertise, yeah, to engage within our development, national development as Ghana. And in this particular example, rice production or agribusiness. So for me, you know, Ghana has missed a big opportunity to engage with our diaspora who are excelling in rice cultivation. Now, the other issue, yeah, that is also troublesome is that recently, you know, President Mahama went to Japan to court Japanese businessmen and, you know, to invest in Ghana. So Mahama's got this big push agenda whereby he wants Japanese business people to invest in energy, agribusiness, and manufacturing. Now, again, this falls into the, you know, for me, falls into the year of return, beyond the return, because rather than have Japan invest in energy, agribusiness, and manufacturing, yeah, as part of your 24-hour economy, why, again, aren't you inviting our own people, African Americans, particularly African Americans, who are specialized in energy, renewable energy, as I mentioned, agribusiness and manufacturing. Yeah. So Mahama's gone to Japan. Yeah, recently he went to Japan towards the end of August. I think, yeah, last week or week before. to propose his big push initiative, right? When he was speaking at the Ghana Presidential Investment Forum on the sidelines of the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Now check that. TICAD. Now think about it. Now think about this critical and rationally. Japan have got this thing that they call Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Now, when did Japan have an interest in African development? Think about it now. Or what is their interest in African development? Again, like Pakistan, Japan do not like black people, not African people. A famous tennis player that they've got is Naomi Osaka. She's part of, she's the African father and Japanese mother. Because in Japan, of the racist, of the anti-African racist there, right? She can't live in Japan. So her mom and father had to leave Japan, right? And they live in America. Yeah? Because in America, there's a lot of mixed relationships. Yeah? But in Japan, they don't even view her as Japanese because she's black. Because she got a black or African father. Yeah? So these are people that don't view us. Yeah? And if you go to Japan, speak to Africans in Japan, right? We know Japan is very, very monocultural society. Yeah? Speak to Africans who live in Japan, and they will tell you, if they've been honest with themselves, of the anti-black, anti-African racism in Japan. So again, I ask myself, why would you, knowing this, you probably don't know, but why would you want Japan to come to a country and invest? Who don't like African people? And again, as with Pakistan, the money is going to go to Pakistan, to Japan, to support Japanese businesses, yeah, and to further support the Japanese economy. But like I said, and the reason why Ghana is inviting Pakistan and Japan, why, particularly Japan, is because Ghana's post-independence development model, why, has leaned on so-called bilateral aid and foreign direct investments. So Japan, through JICA, which is their equivalent of USAID and the equivalent of DID UK, yeah? So through JICA and private firms, they built roads in Ghana, they built power plants and industrial zones, yeah? But what you have to ask yourself, right? They built this roads, for example, the Tama, the new Tama bypass or interchange that you see in Tama, that was built primarily with Japanese money via JICA and also some Japanese firms. But ask yourself, what benefit is Japan getting from this, arrangement with government of Ghana? Yeah. And like you say, Mahama wants them to invest $100 million US dollars into energy, agribusiness, and also manufacturing. But like I said, what is the purpose of them doing it? Yeah. And what is their agenda and motivation for wanting to invest in Ghana? Do you know that Japan is actually a dying economy? You know that Japan's economy, even though it's supposedly, that's why they're in the G7, right? Apparently one of the richest countries in the world, which is probably a lie, because really Japan has had, a stagnation for about 20 years. Do you know that? Since basically 2000, the Japanese economy has hardly grown. Yeah? And all the markets in Asia are saturized. So they can't do a lot of business in China, and that's their arch enemy, China. Right? They can't do a lot of trading, in Vietnam or Singapore or Malaysia, because they want to keep their markets, in-house. Right? And also Europe and the West, and particularly with America, Trump's tariffs is now making it difficult for Japanese goods and services to enter the American market. And so now they have to use Africa, because everyone sees Africa as the final frontier. They may not tell you that in your business programs, yeah, but Africa is the final frontier. So Japan, like US, like China, like India, like Russia, like Turkey, like the European Union, are looking to Africa, yeah, to sell goods and services to ourselves. So this is why Mahama is courting them. But he doesn't need to court them. Mahama does not need to court Japan. Because Japan, like I say, is aging society. Yeah. And they now got a time bomb whereby, there is, Japan's population is actually shrinking. Yeah. And it's aging very, very fast. So now check this now. By 2040, that's a mere 15 years time. Half the population, half of Japan, half the population will be over 65. And you know what that means? Fewer workers, slower domestic growth. If you think Japan's country is stagnation already, right? You ain't seen, what it'd be in 10 years' time when they've got less workers. Slower domestic growth. Yeah. And this is why they need external markets and resource access. They don't like Ghana. They're not African people. And this is why Mahama, unfortunately, has talked to them. This is why they will probably invest in Ghana, because they see opportunity to develop their own economy, and to also, give their people jobs. Because when they invest in your country and they make profit, that profit goes back into the economy, that generates wealth for Japan instead of creating wealth for Ghana. So my thing on this Japan thing, right? Why can't we again invite rich African Americans, right, who have got history, right, of manufacturing based in America, who also have history, in renewable energy and energy, methodologies. Also, there's rich Ghanaians like Papa Kusindum. Papa Kusindum has been sidelined by the last government, but Papa Kusindum, right, he's one of the richest men in Ghana. He has built Group Indum. He has built that into a multi-sector empire that includes banking, media, real estate, hospitality. He's got about 3 hotels. Yeah, the what's his name of his hotel brand? Oh gosh. Coconut, that's it, Coconut Grove. That's the name of Park Dum's hotel chain, Coconut Grove. He's got 1 in Accra, 2 in Accra, I think 1 in Cape Coast and 1 in Amina. Yeah. So when you encourage rich Ghanaians like Papa Kusindum, who has a track record of building banks and businesses in Ghana, right? If you encourage people like that to engage with the government in terms of energy, agribusiness and manufacturing, you know what? That money, that's going to provide opportunity for Ghanaian entrepreneurs, 1. 2, that's going to create wealth in Ghana. 3, that's going to create jobs in Ghana. 4, the money that is made will stay in Ghana, and the government of Ghana can use that money to invest in infrastructure like roads, schools, hospitals, etc., rather than begging, these Western and Asian, NGOs like JICA, USAID, well, not USAID, UKAID, etc., to give us £10 million to build a road. When if we encourage Ghanaian entrepreneurs to invest in Ghana, we could get a lot of that money back and invest in our own, sources of, infrastructure. Yeah. So, for me, development is not about foreign direct investment, even though, there may be a case for it, but it's about, for me, sovereignty, self-determination, and keeping your main cards in to your chest. We can't allow Pakistan to come in and dominate our rice production when we've got a rice factory in Volta region. We can't allow Japanese investors to come to Ghana and own our energy, own our agribusiness, own our manufacturing sector. We've done that already. The Indians control a lot of the retail sector in Ghana. But the Lebanese control a lot of the retail sector in Ghana. The Chinese are now wanting to move into that area, manufacturing, etc. So why doesn't the government of Ghana, in closing, encourage gaining entrepreneurship by giving them soft loans, interest-free loans, or subsidizing, and particularly in terms of agriculture, subsidizing farmers. By that, you are encouraging Ghanaian entrepreneurship, and you are also creating self-determination and sovereignty, more importantly, sovereignty. Yeah, whereby you own ownership of your resources, ownership of your, your real estate, so to speak, your infrastructure, your development, other than allowing outsiders to come into Ghana, take what they want, take what they love, and then you live with nothing but crumbs. Yeah? So for me, the government of Ghana has missed opportunities by allowing Pakistan to come into Ghana and rice cultivation, and also by courting Japanese investors to come to Ghana to invest in key sectors of our economy, when we know there's rich Ghanaians and also our African-American brothers and sisters who have got, by far, even more than Japan and Pakistan, the ability, the money, the capability to do what we need to do to really help, develop Ghana and take Ghana on that next level. And so I thank you for listening to this special edition of Ghana in Focus, where we're looking back development from an African-centered point of view, not from the European textbook point of view. Yeah. If you like what you hear, please share it to your friends, family, social media networks. Subscribe to Ghana African Focus on YouTube. Subscribe to Ghana African Focus on Spotify. All right, so next week, we're definitely going to touch into health, where we'll look at the prostate cancer myth. So until then, from myself, Kwame, and from all the crew here on Ghana in Focus, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you in the next edition of Africa in Focus.